Hey leaders, this is the first video of hopefully many to come. To be honest, I'm not really good with like video filming and editing and all that stuff, so I'm just doing this on my Mac and hoping that I can get this on YouTube and sending out a link to all you guys, so hopefully by the time you're watching this, all is worked out. But yeah, it's on my Mac, so it's not great quality, but I'm hoping to send you guys trainings either once or twice a month, just little things to help you guys prepare to be best equipped to lead a group. And depending on what group you have, you kind of have to take the advice I give you and go, how does that best apply to my group? And I encourage you guys, as you're experiencing a lot of what I'm going to talk about throughout the year, if you run into problems or you're not sure how that applies to your group, please ask me because I'd love to brainstorm with you specific ways that we can help that be addressed in your group. But the first thing I want to talk about today is how to set a small group culture. So we've talked about this in several ways, which is the two biggest wins that we have for small groups are that you first are connecting with all of your students and then that you're helping your students learn and grow. So connection and growth, those are the two focuses. If those are happening in your group, they're working. And really the way this is going to happen with a group is a good group culture. And so you got to kind of ask yourself, well, how do I know if I have a good group culture? And part of what happens is, and maybe some of you have been experiencing this, is you have some weeks or maybe even a period of like a month where your group is awesome. And then you have certain personalities come into your group. Maybe it's a new student or certain students when they get around each other. You know, like maybe if it's just one kid, but he's fine. But if his friends are there, it's really difficult with both or three of them or whatever it might be. And so you get these weird dynamics where there's weeks where you feel like, man, our group culture is awesome. We talked about a lot of things. This was great. And then you have other weeks where you want to pull your hair out. You feel like you want to quit. And you're like, I can't even get the students to listen and respect me or corral them. And so we want to slowly work on, and this is kind of all throughout January and February, I really want to focus on this idea of creating a healthy group culture. And so one of the biggest ways that has to start is in order to get a good culture, you might come off initially as a little bit serious. And I know you want to connect with them, but the students have to know that you deserve their respect. And this isn't something, you're not mean and you're not yelling at them like, hey, respect me, but it's something that through kind action can slowly be earned. So let me just give a quick example for something like talking. Let's say students are talking, and I've seen this before, where the whole group's gathered around, and then there's kind of two or three students that aren't even sitting fully in the group circle. They're kind of sitting on the outside, and you just look at those students and you say, hey, we're all participating in a group here. Can you please, instead of having side conversations, can you guys scoot in and join the group? And I'd like you to actually answer this question. And the students that you might say that to are probably going to look at you like you were a horrible human being for asking them to join the group. But it sends a message like, we are all participating together. So it's little things that happen with some little messaging. And again, it's not going to work out perfectly. Like I say this, and then you go to try it, and you're like, that didn't work out perfectly. Or maybe the person rolls their eyes, or maybe they give you some kind of sassy remark and say, oh, I don't want to do that. So again, it doesn't work out perfectly, but it's slowly figuring out how to implement this to let students know, hey, we are together as a group, and we are going to participate in group together. We are going to work towards conversation, towards growth, towards connection together, and maybe even share that with your students. Maybe share with them that the purpose of group is both connection and growth, and that's what you want out of them. And so if you have students, you just say, hey, you guys aren't really adding to the group, and you're distracting from other people trying to get stuff accomplished. That's a way you can say that. Or I've said this before, but maybe one student, you ask a question to one student, or there's a high-low that a student's talking about. Something I love to do is to go, hey, to everyone, if there's a lot of talking, this person's talking. Or maybe call out a specific student, especially if they're a leader. You know, you might be like, hey, John, or hey, Olivia, or hey, whatever it might be. You know, you might just say, this student's talking, can you please listen? And what it does is it's quick and it's fast, but you do it in front of everyone. That way, the student doesn't feel disrespected, but you're showing everyone their time is valued. And then something else I want to address is if you guys have those students, and again, I don't want to make this sound like this is everyone. Some of you are like, my group's great, and I don't experience any of that. Great, then ignore what I'm saying and just move forward. But some of you, especially in the middle school groups, you might have kids that when they come, they just make the whole dynamic frustrating. It feels like they can take over everything, and they're specific kids, and it's the same one or two kids every week that just a lot of times drive you crazy. And what we need to do in that situation is we need to have direct conversations with these students. And so you don't want to do this you don't want to try and control this during group. You want to try and control this outside of group. So whether it's before a Wednesday night or it's after a Wednesday night, and then I like to do a little bit of a combo. If they were disrespectful that night, you go, hey, I had a really difficult time with you tonight. Here's what I'd like to see next week. And then bring it up before group next week to kind of set that expectation as a reminder. And I want to encourage you guys. Maybe some of you are like, man, I really don't feel comfortable having those conversations. I'd love for you to draw me into those conversations. I gave them some credit last night, but I'd really like to just real quick platform both Scott and Nick and the way they've done this over the past semester or in the fall with our groups. I think they've done an amazing job. There was a period of about a month where we talked to either one or two guys before a Wednesday night for like a month. It was like every week. They were like, hey, we need to have a conversation with this guy this week. We need to have a conversation with these two guys next week. We need to keep, and it felt like, at first it felt like we were in a sinking boat because there were so many guys that needed to have conversations with. But, and there's certain guys that we've had 3 or 4 conversations with, and it's the same thing every time. And it's like, it's this constant imaging like, hey, we love having you here, but you need to act polite. We love having you here, but you can't make other people want to be here. You can, we love you coming, but it needs to be under these circumstances, under you being kind to one another, under you listening to one another. So whatever the behavior is, whether it's the constant not listening, disrespecting you, disrespecting other leader, if you get frustrated in the moment and you kind of react, the students are just gonna be like, wow, they got really angry. But if you're calm, you think about it, and especially if you draw me into those conversations and like, hey, let's talk with Chandler about this, I can even be the bad guy for you, but we can have a lot of these productive conversations where we just look at students face to face and we go, hey, I see you, I hear you, and I'm glad you're here. But I also know that you can be a better, more mature version of yourself in these situations, and that's what I'm calling you to. And so hopefully some of the other changes we're making, like reducing sugar and things like that, will help with your group dynamics. But this month, I really want to focus on creating a group culture. So hopefully you guys get this video and enjoy it. I hope you watch the whole thing. And if you have questions or pushback or things that are a little bit hard for you to understand, please text me about that. And we'll work on that together. But it's a growing process, and not every group is alike. So don't feel like I'm doing this and you're like, oh man, I'm a failure if this doesn't work perfectly. Like I have the easy job right now. I'm just giving you guys a quick 8-minute video. But the real challenge is implementing this on a week-to-week basis and having the strength to do that well. And so I want to partner with you guys in this and invite me into those conversations, bring me into this process, helping create a culture, because each group has its own culture, and we want every group culture to be healthy to where students can connect and students can grow. Thanks, guys.